Ever found yourself saying like, ugh, I knew it. I knew that company would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you've got this like sixth sense for spotting the next big thing.
Yeah.
But maybe that whole world of venture capital feels, I don't know, kind of inaccessible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today we're diving into, well, a fascinating corner of that world, I think. Venture capital scout programs.
Oh,
Specifically, the program that's offered by Allied Venture Partners.
right.
Think of it like this, right?
Okay.
You basically get to be a talent scout, but instead of athletes or singers, you're on the lookout for game-changing startups.
Okay.
And the best part, you don't need to be a millionaire to play the game.
Right. Right.
So what's the inside scoop on this Allied Venture Partners program?
Well, I think what's really exciting here is how Allied is kind of like shaking up that traditional venture capital model. Historically, this has been a space that's reserved for like high net worth individuals and institutions,
Yeah.
requiring, significant capital up front.
That's right. Like you practically needed to be a venture capitalist to even get in the door.
Exactly. But Allied Scout program changes that, right?
Okay.
They're essentially creating this network of individuals who have that, keen eye for spotting promising startups early on,
Yep.
even if they don't have like millions to invest directly.
So instead of writing massive checks, these scouts are more like talent scouts with a nose for the next big thing.
Precisely. So let's say you stumble upon a company,
Okay.
maybe even just an idea at this point, that you believe has that it factor. You do your homework, you realize it aligns like perfectly with Allied's investment criteria. We'll dive into those specifics a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So you've got your finger on the pulse of this like potentially groundbreaking company. What's next?
this is where it gets really interesting, right?
Okay.
You, as the scout, connect that startup with Allied through a simple referral process.
Okay.
Now, it's important to note here that venture capital is inherently a high-risk, high-reward game.
Right.
So there's no guarantee that Allied will decide to invest.
Of course. There's always that element of will they, won't they in the VC world.
Exactly. But here's the kicker, right? If Allied does decide to invest in the company based on your referral,
Mm-hmm.
you earn a piece of the pie, a percentage of their future profits, known as carry.
Wait, hold up. So let me get this straight. So I find a promising company.
Yeah.
I tell Allied about them.
Yep.
And if they invest, I could earn a significant chunk of money down the line,
Yeah.
all without needing to put up my own capital up front.
You got it.
Wow.
To give you a clearer picture, right?
Okay.
Let's imagine Allied invests, let's just say like $100,000 in a company that you referred.
Okay.
They typically offer a 20% carry on their first investment.
Good.
You, as the scout who brought them this deal, would receive 20% of that 20% carry.
So in this hypothetical scenario, that's a cool $4,000 just from connecting the dots.
Right.
And that's not even factoring in the potential exponential growth if that company really takes off.
Precisely. And that's the really exciting part of this model. It allows, individuals to tap into that high growth potential of venture capital without requiring those traditional barriers to entry.
I can see why Allied Venture Partners calls this democratizing access to venture capital.
Yeah.
They're essentially opening up a world that just, I don't know, felt pretty exclusive before.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, throwing open the doors.
Right.
By diversifying the network of people who are out there scouting for these deals, they're tapping into a wider range of perspectives and potentially uncovering opportunities that might have been overlooked in the traditional VC landscape.
It's like instead of having like a small group deciding what's worthy of funding, they're crowdsourcing those insights from people closer to the ground, right?
Yeah.
People who might have a different take on what's innovative or disruptive.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective could be a game changer, not just for the individuals who get involved as scouts, but for like the entire entrepreneurial ecosystem.
So we've established that this whole venture capital scouting thing is pretty intriguing.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
What exactly is Allied Venture Partners looking for in a startup?
They have a pretty specific sweet spot, right? And it goes beyond just having like a cool idea. It's a combination of factors from the industry and stage of the company to their, traction and growth potential.
Okay, I'm ready to break it all down.
All right.
Let's unpack those criteria and figure out what makes a startup irresistible to Allied Venture Partners.
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about what Allied is looking for. They've got this sweet spot for startups, right? Like it's not just any company that catches their eye.
Yeah, you're right. They're pretty specific about it. I guess let's start with the big picture, right? Like their industries.
Hey.
Allied is all about software and technology.
Mm.
They're open within that space, but they tend to avoid areas like bio, med, health, climate, cannabis, GovTech, and pure hardware.
So if it's software driven and, it's poised for major growth, that's a good starting point.
Right.
But like within that vast world of software, what are they really drawn to?
Yeah, that's where what they call their verticals come in.
Okay.
These are the specific areas within tech that really get them excited, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Think anything B2B SOTs, like, those tools that businesses rely on every day,
Right.
from project management to like e-commerce platforms.
Yeah.
They also have their eye on marketplaces.
Yeah.
Platforms. Anything in fintech, blockchain, AML, payments, logistics, analytics, or security.
Okay, so like lots of cutting edge tech with big potential for scale.
Right.
But they're not just looking at futuristic, far out ideas, right?
Right.
They want to see some like proof of concept, some evidence
Yeah.
that the company can actually execute.
Exactly. They want those companies that are, just right,
Oh.
not too early, not too late.
I see.
Think seed to Series A funding rounds,
Okay.
post-revenue, with a product that's already, in the market.
Okay, so they want to see some traction, like a track record of success, but not necessarily like a billion-dollar valuation. Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're looking for those companies that are really like on the verge of breaking through.
Right.
Those like hidden gems that are past the idea phase and are on to building like a real business.
Right.
What does that actually look like in terms of like investment? How much are we talking about?
Their sweet spot is between $100,000 and $350,000 per investment, with the startup's total valuation not exceeding $25 million after the investment.
Okay.
And it's worth noting that they usually don't aim to lead the investment round. They prefer to join in alongside, other notable investors.
So they're looking for companies that are ready for like significant growth, but aren't quite at the stage where they're attracting those, massive funding rounds that you often hear about.
Right, exactly. It's strategic, right? They're providing capital at a, I guess, crucial stage of growth, helping these, promising companies scale and reach their full potential.
This is all making sense. But now I kind of have to put on my skeptical hat and ask, from the perspective of a potential scout, what's the catch?
The catch, well, I mean, the world of startups is inherently risky, right? But when it comes to Allied Scout program itself, there are no fees to participate, and they really do pride themselves on transparency.
Okay, that's good to know. No hidden costs.
Right.
Just a potential for some like serious reward. But what about the application process? Is it super competitive? Like, do I need a fancy finance degree to even like get a foot in the door?
No, not at all. They keep it pretty straightforward. You can actually find their startup referral form right on their website.
Okay.
You'll need to provide some basic information about yourself and the company you're referring, along with like a brief but compelling summary of why you think this startup is, a match made in heaven for Allied.
So no need to like write a dissertation.
Definitely not. They're looking for concise, impactful insights, highlighting how the company aligns with their investment criteria and why you believe in their potential.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's say I, go through the process, submit a referral,
Yeah.
and then crickets.
Yeah.
What are the chances that Allied actually invests in a company I bring to them?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, there's no easy answer to that. Venture capital is, inherently competitive.
Right.
And Allied likely receives a, significant volume of referrals. They have limited resources, and they can't invest in every company that, crosses their path.
So it's not a guaranteed win
Yeah.
every time. But even if a particular referral doesn't lead to an investment, there's still like value in the experience, right?
Absolutely. By, actively scouting for startups, you're immersing yourself in that world of innovation. You're honing your ability to evaluate business ideas, identify market trends, and, spot potential early on, which are valuable skills regardless of whether or not, a specific referral gets funded.
It's like you're building your own like venture capital muscle memory, even if you're not writing the checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you never know, right? Like, even if Ally doesn't end up investing in that particular company, maybe, like, that introduction could open other doors down the line.
Right, exactly. It's about building those relationships, expanding your network. developing that like instinct for, recognizing opportunity.
Like you're almost becoming part of a community,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm kind of curious about like the bigger picture here. This whole concept of, VC scout programs feels, I don't know, relatively new.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how it might change the whole like landscape of venture capital in the coming years.
It's a fascinating development, and I think it's being, closely watched by a lot of
Right.
people. There's the potential to really, like, I don't know, make venture capital far more inclusive. Imagine, like, a new generation of investors with, diverse backgrounds, spotting these opportunities that maybe traditional firms might miss.
And they could lead to like more capital flowing to, underrepresented founders in underserved communities, right?
Absolutely. I think a more diverse group of investors naturally leads to a wider variety of companies getting funded.
Right.
And that's a win for everyone because it could spark, a whole wave of fresh ideas and solutions.
It's a really exciting thought.
Yeah.
But I imagine there might be some, challenges that come with this shift too, right?
Of course. Yeah. One concern is whether the increased competition from scout programs could actually make it harder for some startups to, break through the noise
Yeah.
and actually get funded.
Right. Like we don't want to solve one problem by accidentally creating another.
Exactly. That's why, this transparency from VC firms, like what Allied is doing, is so, so crucial.
Right.
Being upfront about their processes, what they're looking for, that helps to kind of, level the playing field.
It's all about striking that balance,
Yeah.
encouraging more participation, encouraging diverse perspectives, but without making it like tougher for those companies to access the funding.
Precisely. It's a collective learning curve for, I think for both the VCs and the entrepreneurs.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of VC scout programs, we want to leave you with this. What role do you see yourself playing in all of this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Maybe you're ready to just like jump in and start scouting for the next unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps you're inspired to, I don't know, simply learn more about the world of venture capital and how it shapes, the businesses of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whatever path you choose, we hope this deep dive has given you a glimpse into the exciting opportunities that are out there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.